You may have noticed that there is a war brewing in Arc Raiders, and no, I'm not talking about the PvP and the PvE guys having an argument. I'm talking about the streamer war, where everybody's going into the game and picking a side and fighting. And you may be on this video right now because you are tired of PvP. A lot of you have left comments and you have said that the PvP in the game has increased, and this streamer war is certainly going to increase it even more. And the question is, does Embark care? Do they want the game essentially turning into a battle royale? And if you've been playing and you've been frustrated by the PvP, I actually think I have a way to fix your experience. I have a theory, and there was an interview recently that seems to softly back up a theory that I've been working on for a while. So make sure you stick around for the whole video to get some of the ways I'm going to try to help you fix that experience if you're tired of PvP. So this is essentially the theory that I have, and this is based on some things that we know they can do. They can track pretty much everything that happens. You may have seen some of the screenshots where if someone is killed by a cheater and then later on in the day they discover that that person was a cheater, they give you your stuff back. That means they're tracking what you have, the loot you're carrying, and who killed you. Now, my theory is they use that data to put you into servers so you're having a good time. They have a vested interest in you not having a bad time, because if you do, you'll stop playing, and games like this live and die by having a healthy player funnel. And they have to know that there are players that are going into this game that are just not interested in PvP. My PvE video is doing very well because of that reason. Everybody's going to it and saying, oh man, I really hope PvE comes to the game. Now, I argue in that video, as well as another video, that I don't think they should just let you turn PvE on. I think the tension in the game is part of what makes it feel so good, especially when you do team up or have friendly players. That feels great because they could turn on you or they could shoot at you, and that creates that social experiment. I do think they could bring PvE content though, like a raid or something, or at least let the first map have it as an option, since it is more prone for people to go there in kind of grief when they're bored. But what I think they're doing is, since they can track everything, they can tell if a cheater killed you, they can tell what loot you lost from however many matches ago, I think they can also track your behavior. But here's where it gets a little sticky, and where I'm going to have to ask you to do something you might not want to do to try to fix your experience in Arc Raiders. You have to not shoot back, because I don't think whatever algorithm that they're using, I don't think it's sophisticated enough to know who is the aggressor. All it knows is you shot at somebody, because if you're getting tired of it and people are shooting at you and you're trying to survive, your instinct is probably going to be to defend yourself, especially if you've got good loot. Your fear is going to kick in and you're going to say, well, I don't want to lose this loot, and you shoot back. Well, if you lose that fight and you do that a couple of times in a row, the game probably thinks you're just another PvP player, because on paper, you're going into a match and you're shooting at other players, whether you win or not. So what I think you have to do to fix your experience is commit to going in and never shooting back. That's essentially what I have done. I have very, very rarely shot back, but once I did, and I was in a trio, we seemed to run into more PvP people. When you're in a duo or you're in solos, it does seem to be a little less frequent, but everybody's coming to my video and leaving comments and saying, I love this game, and now it's a PvP hellscape. I can't escape it. I don't like it. I don't want to play now. I think you should try my theory. I think you should play however many games it takes on free kit, so you're not, losing anything. If anybody shoots at you, don't shoot back. And do your best to use proximity chat. That's another thing I think some of you aren't doing. Now, I'm not saying all of you, but I wonder how many of you are saying, hey, I'm friendly, or I'm just working on a quest. I did that in a game, and the guy stopped shooting me, and he said he was sorry, and he threw me bandages down, because somebody might just be shooting you because they got jump scared, or they were nervous, or maybe the way you ran in the room made them think, oh, this guy's going to attack me, and they're like, well, I might as well shoot first. And if you immediately say, whoa, I'm friendly, they might stop shooting. If you never attempt to defuse the situation, the rise in PvP is going to create almost like this cyclical thing where everybody's shooting because they're scared, even though they might not want to, and then you're shooting back and putting yourself into lobbies that favor PvP. But let me show you the quote that sort of, I think, supports my theory, and this comes from an Insider Gaming article, and here it is. Some players might not like playing another person because they'll get tryhards that are very, very good. But if we do our job well, then you'll have something that feels balanced and fun, even if you're not the best at aiming or the best at shooting. Now, you might hear that and think, well, that's just skill-based matchmaking. They're just going to try to put you into games with people that are of equal skill, or maybe they have a similar kit to you. Like, they're not stacked with the best guns, and they're going to try to match people according to that. I don't necessarily think that's true. I've had a lot of people support my theory by saying, look, I just never shoot back. I'm always trying to talk to people, and I've had a much better experience. I've got like 27 hours in the game, and I've had very, very infrequent situations with PvP. I've had other people chime in with more hours than me, 40-something hours. They've downed almost nobody, and they almost never run in to PvP. And that brings me to the current war in the game. And I don't think it's a problem. You might hear this theory that I have and think, this is a joke. How could this possibly work? Everybody's going into the game and choosing Burnt Peanut or somebody else to fight, and they're all shooting at each other, and they're creating this meta in the game of PvP. Like, if you've watched any of the streams, I think it's very entertaining. I think it's a super creative idea that they've come up with, but they're basically turning the game into a battle royale. And I don't have any problem with them doing that, because this is another emergent property of the social experiment. I think that's what makes Arc Raiders so captivating. The player numbers continue to climb. I do not think this is just because it's an extraction shooter. I think they created the recipe for players to sort of chart their own course. And that's why I don't think the war is a problem. I think it's just more data points for Embark to track. And if my theory is correct, they're going to use those data points to ensure that you have a good time. As he says in the interview, like, if they're doing their job well, then you should be having a good experience. Like, that's their job, is to have a player come into the game and have a good time. Well, if you come into the game and you don't want to do PvP and you're just trying to do some quests and you keep getting killed, that is counterproductive to their aims as a company. That's not really the point of having you come into the game. Like, the point of having you come into the game is for there to be tension, for there to be some fear, and obviously threat from Arc as well as players. But the point is that you're supposed to have a good time. And if the game turns into a flat tire of those of us that prefer to be more peaceful, more pacifist, just keep getting killed anyway, then obviously engagement patterns will go down for those players. And I don't think Embark just wants this game to essentially feel like another battle royale in a couple of months, where the core audience is pretty much only shooting on sight and only engaging in PvP. They've made it very clear that's not the goal of this game, to just be another PvP game. They talked about that in other interviews, where like, oh, we don't want this to just be like deathmatch with loot. And that's why I think they're using data and your behavior to funnel you to better experiences. Now, pushback on what I'm saying might be, but people can fake you out. They can say they're friendly and kill you anyway. Okay, that's true. But if I'm correct in my theory and you don't shoot back, guess what's going to happen? Players like that will eventually get funneled into matches and servers where other people are shooting other people. And if you're not shooting anybody, you should avoid those servers. Right now, you can be a civilian in the war. I'll put an image up here in the video. That's the outfit you want to wear if you want to be more of a civilian, which obviously that might be concerning. You might, well, that'll make me a target and the PvP guys will just kill me. But again, if Embark is using the data and they can see who's wearing what outfit, who has what loot, we know they track this because of what they do when a cheater kills you. That means they could start to funnel you and the other civilians and people wearing that outfit that are clearly signaling that they don't want to engage in PvP and put you in matches together. This is probably the best use of matchmaking, as well as all of the data that Embark has right now, because what you're essentially doing is you are letting players determine the outcome. They get to go in, they can role play, they can goof around, they can betray, they can team up and be on Burnt Peanut's team or any of the other teams that are forming and have the experience that they want. And if you want nothing to do with that, I think my theory would ensure that that should eventually happen. It might take a handful of games. If you've been shooting back every time this has happened, and you put a lot of damage on other players and even downed other players, it might take a while to fix it. Generally, the way algorithmic data works is you have to have more data than the previous. Does that make sense? Like, if you have a bunch of matches, let's say 10, where you shot other players, you might need 11 matches where you don't to outweigh the 10. You have to create a pattern so that the AI or the machine, whatever they're doing, if it's some kind of machine learning, we know they've leveraged AI rather well. If that's baked in matchmaking, you have to give it more data than it currently has. that means you might have to spend an entire evening running free kit, never shooting back. And eventually, I think the tide should turn because they want you to keep coming back. I don't think they want you to leave because you just keep getting killed. I think they're okay with people leaving. If it's not for you, if the tension, if losing stuff, like I lost a bunch of stuff the other night to Ark because it put me into a match and there wasn't enough time left, and I tried to gather stuff and I ran out of time and I had to take a terrible route, which left me open to getting shot by the Ark. I obviously would like them to fix that. It's not fun going into a match and having like 13 minutes. That evaporates rather quickly when you're trying to get some loot. It's almost like the round is sort of a throwaway. But I think if you treat an evening like that, like, okay, I'm going to throw this evening away and I'm going to try to fix my matchmaking, I'd be interested to know the results. So let me know in the comments below. Try it out. Test my theory. Just take a whole evening or week and just be pacifist and see if the PvP trend doesn't start to come down for you. Because certainly it's always going to happen. Somebody's going to decide to go PvP. They might be brand new to the game, or maybe they just decide, you know what, I've been pacifist long enough. I'm going to start shooting at people now. I've got a ton of loot. So you're not going to get a pure experience. And I don't think I want that anyway. I love the fact and the threat and the tension that makes the game so potent. Like, I think that's why it's so popular. I don't want that to go away. But if the trend is that most of your games sort of go the way that you'd like them to go, that's good for the developers, that's good for the game. It'll help the game last longer. What we don't want to see is every single person that enjoys the PvE aspect of the game slowly filtered out because PvP just starts to take over. So when we ask the question, like, does Embark care? Are they going to do anything about this war happening in the game? I don't think they care. I think the data from the behavior and the outfits and everything is only going to serve their purposes. We just have to do our part if we are trying to be pacifist, because then you're feeding them good data. If you're always shooting back, you're feeding them bad information. They can't tell, and then you're going to be frustrated because you just keep getting put into matches with PvP. So let me know in the comments below how it goes if you try out my theory. See if it helps. If it doesn't, then maybe Embark can, watch this or see the feedback in comments and Reddit and maybe make some adjustments to the matchmaking to help those of us who aren't really interested in PvP. As always, hit like, hit share, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.